time to answer your questions. One of my members has asked me this: what about USAID? What's my thoughts on USAID? Well, I'm not going to be political on this show. Hello, there we go.
Savage Faith Creations donated $2 through a super chat. No politics on Fun Friday. Heart.
Absolutely. No politics on Fun Friday. So I'm going to keep politics out of this video. However, even if I keep politics out, politics is in everything that we do every single day. People talk about politics is something sort of, it can be divisive or offensive or upsetting or provocative or whatever. But politics, every decision we make in government affects everyday life. So everyday life is a conversation, right? So I'm not going to talk about it from a government's, from a political point of view, but I'm just going to explain the full story because I have some experience of this. This is the untold story of USAID. So let me just explain it like this. Right now, we are seeing a shift in the way that information is delivered to us. I'm picking every word here specifically. We're seeing a change in the way everything is delivered to us. For the first time, I think, probably in history, we are seeing CEOs and mainstream politicians, mainstream heads of government, if you like, using profanity on stage, addressing the audience with F-bombs and S-bombs. We're seeing it in the boardroom and we're seeing it in the press room. We're seeing it everywhere. Everything is becoming very much more headline orientated, very dramatic, to create some drama, to create a debate. Okay? Now, I have extensive experience firsthand of traveling to 195 countries. And yes, that is every single country of the world. It took me about 34 years to do this. I've traveled all over the world as the world piano man. And I've got some experience in these matters. And at one point, I would have been a member of parliament. If I'd stood in my seat, I decided to not accept it and I travelled instead. But I actually would have been the equivalent to a senator in America, okay, in the United Kingdom. So I have experience in politics too, but we're going to keep politics out of this. We're going to talk about human experience. Obviously, if you tell people...
Patrick Black donated $1.99 through a super chat. Yes, politics, let's start an argument. Playful face.
No, we're not going to start an argument. We're having just a piece of human experience here. Thank you very much for your super chat, by the way. If you tell people that we are wasting your money paying for something that is happening in a far-off land, in another country, nothing to do with you, it's a waste of money, and that's all you get, obviously it sounds, yeah, damn right, I don't want my money to go into that, obviously, because that's a very, very simple, very cartoonish, headline-ish statement. It's not really intellectual, it's not deep, it's just a very shallow statement, very much like buy the dip, go to the moon, let's get rich in 5 minutes on crypto. All of these, this is the world we've now created. Very simplistic headlines. Now, let me tell you from experience, okay? Let me explain to you how all these things actually work from real experience. My own experience. I was born in England and I'm just a regular guy getting off my arse building a show, building a business, one night in Vegas. I built a theatre show. I never asked anybody for any money. I never asked for any grants, sponsorship, handouts, or anything. I did it all by myself. And in fact, I didn't even go to the bank to borrow money. Excuse me, I've got a hair on my face. I didn't even go to the bank and ask for funding to be able to borrow money to buy the equipment, the truck, the lorry, whatever. But I ended up building the second largest one night, I've got a hair in my face, the second largest one night touring theatre show in Britain for 8 years, one night in Vegas. toured all over the place, and very successful. And I did it all by myself with my own funding on a credit card, 23%. No one helped me. All right. Now, in the arts, in the theatres, there's always support, there's funding, there's government handouts, there's all the sort of things that you're hearing about now in America. We give money to these people, money to these people. And I was aware of it. And one particular incident came to my attention, and it upset me because no one's helping me. I'm doing it all by myself. And I'm an Englishman. I was born here. I'm working here. I'm paying wages. I had like 20 odd members on my payroll. I had lots of staff, and I was paying taxes. So shouldn't I deserve help? But I came across a show that was from Russia, and they were receiving money from the British government to support their show. And the reason why they were getting money, so the British government was sending this show money. Now, this show was run by basically a criminal out of Russia who was employing lots of underage young girl female dancers, ballerinas, to be in this ballet show. All right. Now, they would bring the show into England. He wouldn't pay any of the girls. He would just promise them a better life, give them somewhere to live. They would all be crammed into this one little house, and he would go around the country putting these shows on. Nobody ever went to the shows. Nobody wanted to go. It was a very unpopular show. No one cared about it. So why did the government give them all this money? Well, the government gave them all this money because it's tit for tat. We do this, you do that. So lots of deals were done behind the scenes. The theatres itself, the places that hosted the event, if they hadn't have hosted the events for these Russian shows, they wouldn't have got their grants to support the theatre. So they were forced to employ these shows. They actually paid these shows. When I did the shows, I was on a 70-30 split. If I sold no tickets, I got no money. If I sold tickets, I made money. And I'm a regular English guy living at home, working hard, getting nothing and no support, doing it all on my own. But this Russian show was getting all this free money. And they weren't even using it for the show. No one even came to the show. No one even wanted to watch the show. It was called supporting the arts. Like, you're supporting a culture. Without the support, the culture would die. The reality was, it was one Russian criminal taking the money for himself, abusing all the children, because they were underage. And there was one famous story. It was in Gravesend, east of London. One particular weekend. I was there on the Friday. I was there on the Saturday. That show was there on the Friday. And on the Friday, this ballet show came into Gravesend in just east of London, or southeast London. And they came in, and there was a big story when I got there on the Saturday, because all the dancers had been arrested. They were all in jail because they were all in Boots, which is like a Walgreens in America, stealing. They had no money. They were stealing basic feminine hygiene items. They had nothing. And they were all caught stealing it. And everyone said these dancers were all terrible Russian thieves. In fact, they were all abused and they had no money. So they went into Boots and they were all stealing feminine hygiene products. And the following day, when I was there, we heard all about it. And that's how the story came out. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this information is it's not just an isolated incident. I've been all over Africa. We're talking about now in Africa that people aren't today receiving benefits for AIDS protection and famine protection and all kinds of different aids and different support that was coming from America. So people are going, we're not sending money for this, but because it's a nice, simple headline, we'll add a few swear words, we'll add a bit of drama, we'll add some headlines, we'll add some head shaking and scratching. And it sounds obvious that we don't want to send our money to these things. However, going back to the Russia situation, that was a terrible, terrible deal. It was terrible, sending money that British taxpayers were paying to Russia to a criminal. The reason why it was done was because if we do this deal for you, you do this deal for us. And it's so complicated, it goes down in so many levels that the headline simply never addresses it. It could be things like sanctions. If we supply you with this amount of aid, then you will put sanctions on this country. You will support us in this war effort, or you will put pressure on this politician to get this done, that done. It's very, very complicated, and it doesn't have justice with a simple headline. Simple headlines do simply not address this issue. Does that make it right? Does that make it right that we should then continue it? No, because it is so complicated, then it gets abused. And that is correct. So that it's not one way or the other. The truth is actually here in the middle, because we don't obviously want to be taking taxpayers' money of any country and sending it to another country where it's being abused, taken advantage of. Obviously, we don't want to do that. However, when we do give money to foreign aid or different things, and the government do that, there's very often lots of different layers, like an onion, different layers of complexity to explain why these things happen. Now, because it's complicated and different levels, it goes beyond most people's comprehensions. Everybody switches off. No one's interested. So now people can come in and abuse the privilege. They can give people money from governments because they are getting personal benefits, personal kickbacks. So it's right that a government go in and try to find all of these holes in the system and fix them. However, when we're at home and we read a headline about, all this money is being sent abroad for this, and we always pick the dramatic ones with silly statements. I'm not going to use them because I said I wouldn't get political. So we're not going to use specific examples that what the government are doing right now. But you all know what they are. If we find a silly headline where we're giving all this money for this silly idea in this far off land, it sounds ridiculous. And everyone goes, yeah, it's silly. This is great. We want to stop all of this. However, you just understand that the world is complicated, and the more layers of onion there are, as we peel it off, the more complicated it gets, and the more abuse and misuse of funds becomes, and more abuse, and more people take advantage of the complexity of the discussion. So, the question you asked me, what do I think about USAID? It's the same conversation for any country. All countries, all governments fund different things that if we got to hear about it, it would sound ridiculous and insane and crazy. But there are more levels. So I'm not saying whether each individual case is right or wrong. Should we be supporting anything in foreign lands? We have to remember, though, no matter how complicated this is and how many levels of the onion we have to peel back to find the truth, we have to remember what's most important. What's most important is relationships around the world, because we are a global community. No country in the world since the beginning of time has ever been successful standing alone. No country. We go back to empires. We've had many empires. I think we've had about 6 empires. I can't remember them all off the top of my head. I should know them all, but I can't remember them all right now. But at the top of my head, I can think of just the last 2, the Roman Empire and the British Empire. Both failed for trying to overstretch. In England, we say America was a great idea. It just got out of control. That's what we say. And I think the Americans will find that funny. So at the end of the day, we overstretch ourselves, and nobody can be an island because everybody relies on everybody else. I remember a very famous incident years ago. I was at home and in Cornwall, and I woke up one morning and everybody's homes, gardens, cars, the roads, everywhere was covered in sand. We woke up one morning with like a 2 millimeters of sand over everything. It was like we were in the Sahara Desert. And in fact, we were in the Sahara Desert. There was an extreme weather condition which lifted up the sand in a sandstorm, brought it over Britain and dumped it all over southwest of England. We were covered in sand. Now what that shows you is that we are a global community. Everything that we do at one place has a ripple effect. Like if you drop a stone on a pond, it ripples. It goes out and it's far reaching. So what we say and what we do affects everyone. So part of why I do this show is I'm trying to put something positive in the world. Now, it doesn't mean to say I don't call out people who are stupid. If you say stupid things, I say you're stupid. I act on everything. I take on everyone. I deal with everyone. I face everything. Because life is complicated. Life is like layers of an onion. We've recently seen a massive fall in the level of education in the United States. It was near the top years ago. It's now near the bottom. If you look at the education score globally, the United States over the last 20 years has massively dropped on the level of education, how it's measured around the world. And we've entered a time of very simplistic headlines. We've got CEOs swearing F-bombs, S-bombs. We got politicians calling things the C word. I don't mean the C word, I mean the very watered down C word. Telling policies are the C word, right? We've got people just going, it doesn't matter anymore if we swear, if we shout, if we create headlines. Now, this isn't just the United States. This is all over the world. Everybody now wants a simple answer, a quick answer. They don't want to peel back the onion and get the truth. The truth is complicated. The truth takes time. The truth takes research. And most people couldn't care less or even bother about any of that. So, in summary, William, you asked me about USAID. Well, to be honest with you, it's about global aid. It's not just the United States, it's everyone. Every government who supports something abroad or even at home is a lot more complicated than it first appears. But when we take things away or when we add things, there's a real human effect at the end of it. It might sound great to say to somebody, I'm going to save you some money by getting rid of all this nonsense. And on the face of it, you are. But on the other hand, there's a human being affected at the other end. And it's not always the desirable effect that the person, the other end, would have actually wanted. We had the debate in the UK years ago when they said, should we scrap the monarchy? And if we scrap the monarchy, it will save you, I think it was 75 pence, which is about $1 per year in your taxes. So when you actually take away certain things and you save certain amounts of money, does it really make a difference? Well, of course it does. It adds up over time. But again, it's complicated. The money that gets saved gets spent on something else. What do you really benefit from those changes? Well, think of it in that context. You take away the monarchy and I personally have 75 pence a year more. What's the point? Where did that go? Absolutely nowhere. Didn't do anything. So there is my extensive answer to that question, William. I hope that makes sense. I tried and I hoped I succeeded in not making it political. I didn't come down on any side of any political argument. I just opened up the debate for healthy, intelligent, calm, respectful conversation. To realize that this subject is not simple. It has far-reaching effects. It's a real situation. And don't get too carried away with the headlines. Expect more from yourself, at least, if you can't get that from those that deliver it. Click above my head for all the links down below in the description, over here and over here, for more things that you might find useful. Until next time, as always, take care of yourselves and each other.